Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be taking a look at week 2 of Doubles Derby. Probably another quick video. Just doing some predictions, maybe a few look backs at games I thought were interesting from last week across several tiers. Um, but yeah, anyways, we're in week 2 now. I'll just give a brief recap of what happened last week. So Ice Riders and Spatial Week tied. This was kind of a back and forth series from what I could tell. It came down to the last game. Well, obviously it was a tie. That finished with this Natdex game. Burns versus Akaru. Red Spec Redemption rolled on to a 5-3 victory over the Tachyon Cutters. This was kind of an interesting week. We saw a few results we probably wouldn't have expected, but I would still say the team I expected to won this week in this matchup. But the games did not exactly go how I thought they would. And then my own team lost last week, relatively close. So all the matchups last week were pretty close. No blowouts or anything. But yeah, we do have Red Spec Redemption and Twin Leaf Turboblaze moving up a little bit and taking an early lead here. It's worth noting that unless something has dramatically changed, which I'm pretty sure it hasn't, I don't actually remember if this got brought up. Top 4 teams will be moving on to playoffs, so it's not that difficult to make playoffs in a season like this, but it is going to be probably pretty tight for those last 2 slots that don't actually make the cut. But yeah, anyways, let's just take a brief look first at the matchups for this week. So up first we have Ice Riders versus the Tachyon Cutters. Ice Riders, just as we just saw, tied last week, whereas the Tachyon Cutters just suffered a 5-3 loss. Let me see. We had a few lineup changes this week, so I guess I kind of try to pay attention to that. The first big one we see is Z is going to be moving into Natdex. This is because Kunal's on vacation and will not be playing for the next couple of weeks. And we see Nadando moving in for a DPP start and AI Red Zone moving up to DLC. So overall, some actual pretty big lineup changes. Overall, I still think this team is pretty strong. One of the stronger ones, but I think this is definitely a weaker lineup, to be honest. Without some of the mainers, Red Zone's not really a DLC main. He could definitely play the tier. He has done competently in it. And then Nadando, a bit of an unproven face, although having played against them myself in ADV and DPP, they're a fairly strong player from what I can tell. So yeah, a little bit of a more unproven lineup. The exception here is I think Z is better in Natdex than in DLC, even though they won last week in a pretty convincing manner as well. I just think Natdex is a bit of a more consistent tier, and rewards putting some of your stronger players in those tiers a little bit more. Not by a huge amount, of course, Mons is Mons, but generally, I'd say these 3 tiers, DLC, DPP, and ADV, are not... my eyebrow gets raised a little bit when you put one of your stronger players in these tiers, as I've discussed before in the last couple of videos. But yeah, so let's take up the matchups here. So first up, we have Straptor versus Eric. I know, both of these players won last week. 2 of the stronger players that we actually don't really see a lot of. This is actually a sleeper good matchup in my opinion. I think both of these players are very good at SPDOU. I generally think I rate Eric a little higher, but Straptor has a little bit more games, I think, in the tier overall. I think I'm going to go with Eric. I think Eric is just someone who's looked really good the last couple of years in DOU. But definitely a matchup that is actually probably worth paying attention to, in my opinion. Then we have Yellow Paint versus Volcarona VGC. Volcarona VGC, a bit of a newcomer. Actually subbed in last week to play DLC. Got a win against Paraplegic. That was a pretty impressive win, I'm not going to lie. And has had some good results in ladder tour recently, so I think just off of recent bias, I think I have to go with Volcarona VGC. Looked really good last week in that DLC game. What happened to Yellow Paint? Yeah, Yellow Paint lost to Charlotte. I don't know if I actually watched that game. I think it was one of the ones that was just on at 4 a.m., so I just didn't even bother watching it. But yeah, I think this is gonna be close for sure. Yellow Paint with a lot more experience, but I think just recency bias has to give it to Volcarona VGC. All right, then we have Burns versus Sea Life. This is an interesting matchup. I think I definitely have to go with Burns just off of player difference here. Sea Life is someone that has looked pretty good in Nat decks the last couple of years, but I think generally, like if Burns brings like a good team, doesn't load like a matchup like he loaded last week, which was just like sun and sand. This is something I would definitely expect Burns to win. But if C-Live can pull off a victory here, that'd be pretty impressive, in my opinion. Z versus Frixel is actually a pretty interesting game. Both of these players have like played a fair amount of Nat decks, but not like a ridiculous amount or anything. Especially not in like the last few months. But Z has always been one of the stronger like players in this tier whenever they've played. So I think I'll go with Z. But this is close. Frixel pulled off a good win against Nails last week. Probably like had like a favorable matchup, but not still like an impressive victory, you know. With a team honestly that I built that I did not think was very good after using it myself. So props to Frixel for that win last week. So yeah, I think I'm going to give it to Z. I mean, it's just like Z has looked really good the last few times. I think the last time I saw Z play Natdex was I think like the Natdex World Cup and had like one of the best records in that tour, if I recall correctly. All right, Madara versus XQ and DUU. This is a really good DUU game. Both these players have had like really good DUU performances in like the last year. Madara got a big strong win against Actually last week in DUU. Whereas XQ got Basculegioned in a moment that can only be described as pure comedy. Let me hold up a screenshot. Hold on. Let's see. 2 seconds. Where did it go? Oh, yeah, here it is. Bad Basculegion. XQ. Do not ban. I thought this was really funny. But yeah, I mean, XQ is definitely like a formidable player here, but I was really impressed that Madara got the win against Act last week. Act has been someone who's like been really strong in like DUU for years and years and years. And I think like I in the past I've kind of like judged Madara's like Team Tour performances like kind of harshly, to be honest, just because like he's always done like really really well in like individual tours, but for a while kind of struggled to like get off the ground in team tours. But I think like I'm pretty confident going for him here because he had like a really good like World Cup, and to me at least it appears that he's kind of like figured out how to play best of one more consistently, which is something that's really exciting to see. And like getting that win against Actually last week has just given me more reason to believe that, right? So this is a close game. I'm gonna give it to Madara though. Just a really strong player, and looked a little bit better last week. All right, Renzo versus Gasai. I think, like, realistically, it's probably Gasai, but also realistically, does Gasai show up to her game? She didn't show up last week, but then Volcarona VGC subbed and he got the win anyway. So, I gotta give it to Gasai. I mean, Gasai like it has just a really strong history in DLC. Red Zone, not so much, especially not in like a team tour setting. Definitely like a question mark a little bit here, but I think like Red Sun could pull something off here, but it looks Gasai favored to me, if she shows up with that caveat. All right, Nadando versus Bagel. I mean, Bagel did lose to Keg last week in a bit of like definitely an upset. But it's kind of hard, right? Like this is like I think, as far as I'm aware, Nadando's first like team tour game. He's playing against Bagel in one of Bagel's strongest tiers. I gotta give it to Bagel, realistically. Let's see. All right, ADV versus ADV. C versus SMB. Let's see. What I think. What I go here depends entirely on if C won last week. Okay, C won. I'm gonna pick C. Yeah, just one of the stronger ADV players the last few years. SMB. Lost in what looks like a pretty competitive set to Yoda. I did not watch it, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one of those matchups that you get in a tour like this where you get like a mainer playing versus a non-mainer, right? And C has just been like a particularly strong like ADV player. I think I gotta give it to C. Definitely an interesting series. I think like the changes Ice Riders made are pretty interesting. Although I've realized I just predicted 4-4. I mean, I think Outsiders in general are the stronger team, but these lineup changes are not do not inspire a whole lot of confidence for me. Um, I think like the SV looks a little bit weaker here. I mean, this is some good close games. Interesting set in my opinion. All right, Turbo Blaze versus Spatial Week. Let's. All right, we see Rat Packer and SV versus Enzo Nana. I think this is a pretty easy bold for Rat Packer here. Enzo Nana lost to Staraptor last week, and I don't know. I think Rat Packer is just a stronger SV player. He lost in Natdex last week, but that's not a tier he's like really played nearly as much as he has SV. So I'm not really going to hold that against him here, right? And I think Enzo Nana, like I said in my last video, whether or not I predict Enzo Nana is heavily based upon does he win his first game, and he did not win his first game, unfortunately. So Rat Packer it is. All right, Faye versus Charlotte. This is a good matchup. This is one of the better ones, I'd say, of the week. Both players that like you don't really see a whole lot of recently, but both like got strong wins last week. Especially Faye's win looked particularly convincing, although I didn't actually watch Charlotte, so it might have been just as convincing. Well, this is a close one. I really don't know what to go here. This is kind of a toss-up for me. I'd probably give it to Faye, just because of like a larger amount of games played in SV overall. Although like that's less of a point now because of an extended absence, you know. But still, someone I've seen like play SV a little bit more. Though I think this is definitely a game to pay attention to right here. All right, Log Ice versus Voltix. Hmm. Interesting matchup between two like players who have definitely like played a lot of the tier recently. Voltix's win last week was hilarious. I think I just got to show this one. I mean, it was just like absolute cinema, you know. Let's see where'd it go. All right, man. Am I just like blind? I might literally just be blind. All right, here it is. But yeah, so we see Kunal brought an interesting full room team, which you know like likes to click the move Trick Room, paired with an interesting spherical strategy, which is like a jetpack. Gets a free switch in after first turn of TR, but we see Covert, Cloak, Taunt, Heatran completely won the game on turn one. Like the game's just like over. And I thought that was really, really interesting prep from Voltix. That looked impressive to me. And yeah, like if you're bringing a bring like that, that makes me like really confident that you're like prepping very well, you know. And I think these two players are like fairly even in skill, I'd say. Voltix has been someone who's played a lot longer, but Log Ice has been relatively impressive in the last year. But I'm gonna give it to Voltix. I think Voltix has a bit of an edge here. Then we see the other Natdex slot, Laptops versus Akaru. Two players that have been very good in Natdex when they've played. As is the case for like a lot of these guys, but it's just like have not played the tier extensively. And I'd say neither probably like builds their own teams. And as a result of that, I'm gonna give the edge to Laptops here because I think like support from like Rat Packer I'd rate a little bit higher than like support from probably just like Voltix, you know. Um, and Laptops looked really strong in Natdex with like Rat Packer supporting them last year. So it's like it's kind of a proven track record with those two players prepping Natdex, you know. Um, but Akaru had a good win against Burns last week. It was a good matchup, one of the better ones in Natdex, I'd say, for sure. I'm going to give it the advantage to Laptops though. All right, his versus Actuarily. Actuarily lost to Madara last week, and I don't remember what happened in his game. Oh yeah, he beat Nito. Hmm. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna ride the hot hand here and go with his. His just looked really good in DU, like obviously last week and then last season as well. Um, whereas let me actually watch Act versus Madara. I'm sure that was a good game. We'll see. I don't actually remember what happened. Let's see where to go. There we go. All right. So we see a team with the cringe Pokemon and a team with the cool Pokemon. Uh, Douglas, one of the stronger mons in this tier. Basically like Diet Roaring Moon. And there's not really a better speed control option in this tier. Alright, we see the Floblitz go into Keldeo. Hurricane go into Keldeo. Big Rock Slide. Not actually a big Rock Slide. Oh, that's a pretty big Terra. Oh, the crit and the confusion. Okay, hits through both and gets a big knockout on that Arcanine. And the Moltres gets a free plot. I think I can see how this game is going to go. Yep, Dark Pulse, Fiery Wrath. That one is doing a lot more damage. Flaky, Diet Rillaboom. Not able to take that one quite as much as you'd hope. Okay, why did we fake out the... I guess maybe the Moltres is like Cloak or something? It could be. Okay, but yeah, it looks like the Moltres just wins this game. Okay, like, close enough. Okay, I gotta say, I think I liked like his like team building last week more. I would give it to his. All right, DLC. Seifa versus John 1240. Seifa's one of the best DLC players, I think, hands down. Probably I'd say like the player I'm expecting to do the best in this pool. Considering like recent performances, did really well in the LC team tour recently. Made circuit finals in the DLC circuit, and John 1240 had like a kind of a weaker showing against Z. I'd say last week, and Seifa got a pretty strong win. So yeah, I'm gonna build Seifa here. All right, Hugo versus Dad 1. I'm sorry, Hugo, but like Dad 1 just has like affiliate games in the tier, and Hugo has -1. Because if he's used anything, it's probably not that good in this tier. So yeah. Okay. Ninja Snapple versus Amaranth. Let's see. Both of these players lost last week. Amaranth has played like a lot of this tier in the past, although I think Ninja's been like more active in the tier. I think for that I'll give it to Ninja. I think she's just been more active. But this is close. I think it's hard for me to really pick one here. I think ADV is just kind of like that. All right, so I predicted Rat Packer, Faye, Voltix, Laptops. Okay, I guess I did Turbo Blaze 6-2. That's crazy. But I did rate Turbo Blaze as one of the stronger teams, in my opinion. Yeah, so that'll be it for those predictions here. Let's see. And just like a brief overview of the upcoming games for this last series, although I won't make predictions as I am playing. So Chris actually already played, and I'm just going to put this here for content. Chris Numberson, one of the greatest teams of all time. Big Terrifier. Thunderous Limitless was crazy, by the way. Choice Band, Terrifier, Pyro Ball. So this is like obviously kind of a bit of a counter team here to the Chris Numberson. Although it was made somewhat weaker by the fact that the Thunderous was not actually Rain Dance as it was intended to be. And there were a few unfortunate turns in this game that kind of ended up making a big difference. Yeah, the Miss Muddy Water was kind of annoying. all it really ended up with was a little bit more damage on Sinistcha, but there's another turn in a few turns that was a little bit more annoying. So the big Iron Hand switch in. Instant comes back in, gets to Intimidate drop on both Mon. Rilla's just going to U-turn out. Bring in the DNC again, which is just going to die to that Magic Gotcha. But if the hand's at -1, it's not particularly threatening here. Yeah, it's just going to do about 50% to that instant. Not the end of the world. And we're going to see Cinderace come in. Rain goes up. Big Pyro Ball. And it gets the burn. And that was kind of like the end of this game, to be honest. Although, Mr. didn't really make a whole lot of an effort to preserve the DNC anyways, but like there wasn't really much of a reason to after the burn, in my opinion. Because that burn kind of just ended the game, to be honest. And so yeah, we're gonna see a really funny damage calc in like the next turn. So good luck, have fun. Big Torkoal switch in. You want to see a dead Iron Hands? Yeah. So yeah, Gods took a 1-0 lead here. But we also have Flying Beagle versus SR Bolt Mike. Interesting matchup for sure. Me versus Nails. Eat Birds versus Terrakusai. I'm looking forward to this game. These are two like kind of rising stars in the Nactex community. Definitely recommend to watch. And then Nito versus Vespi. Two long-time players going at it here. Definitely another recommended watch. And then, unfortunately, I can no longer recommend any of the rest of these games because they're in Mickey tiers. Although ADV Gma versus Yoda is going to be a good game. And got to keep eyes on Kegged after that week 1 performance against Bagel. This one should be interesting as well to see how Jello responds to that. And then Hasawa versus Para. Two of the stronger DLC players. They both lost last week. But it should still be a very high quality game. Looking forward to watching all of these in particular. Especially this ADB game. Yoda looked really strong last week, getting that win against SMP. And Gma, one of the probably just the best ADB player the last few years. So yeah, interesting series coming up. Yeah, let's see. Are there any more games I wanted to cover here? So yeah, I'll just show this one. This was a good game. Between Z and John 1240 and DLC. It's kind of just an informative game if you're like interested in like this tier. Kind of just good, really good strong teams from both, except unfortunately one team has one more broken Pokemon. Yeah, this was a pretty well played game. It was pretty strong on Z's end. But it was just like a pretty clean game, which I thought was cool. And also it has Stantler, goated Pokemon. Yeah, we see one of the stronger Misdreavus sets here. Misdreavus, really key piece of this metagame. Probably should not be legal, but definitely like playing with it is like one of the big skills in this tier. We see the support set with Taunt, Icewind, presumably like with I can't remember if it actually got clicked in this game. And of course, it's always Shadow Ball. And yeah, we see that Stantler get set up, and this thing like basically just doesn't die for the rest of the game. There's a bit of a spoiler. I'm not sure I was the biggest fan of that Earth Power. The Misdreavus switch felt kind of telegraphed, but like, fair enough, you know? But yeah, we get the Diadamungus switch in here, and so we're gonna get a Pollen Puff off on the Stantler, and then from there, kind of just over. Although the Corphish Spring was pretty interesting. Corphish is a funny Pokemon. Unfortunately, it's not as broken as Stantler, but it does have adaptability and hits hard with some water moves. But yeah, I thought this game was also funny because they're like very similar teams. It's just one team has a Stantler and one team has a Corphish. One team has a tier 1 Pokemon, one team has like a tier 4 Pokemon. But yeah, I mean, this is a really cool set. We see it a fair amount, honestly. But yeah, it's just like ground fairy coverage with Calm Mind. Yeah, this was a really big protect. I mean, this kind of just sealed the game, getting that catching that double up there. Because in the Tailwind, it just has a few more turns, and like unless you get like a double protect, it looks kind of dire, you know. Big Corphish damage. Unfortunately, only 50%. Not quite enough. Hey, yeah, one last Tailwind sealed up this game. So yeah, good illustration of all that makes Stantler very, very good. Honestly, I don't know why I showed that game, but it was just one I remembered. What else was there? This set was probably good. I don't know. Alright, we see Fee versus Amaranth. And the two broken electric types in the field. Big Earthquake. Raikou, one of the coolest mods in this tier. In both DPP and ADV. It's not really a mod you see in the gens after that, but in these like first two doubles gens, like it's really one of the stronger mods. And to a lesser extent Zapdos, although we see more of that, in particularly in formats like SM. But Raikou especially, just not something you see in other doubles tiers, so it's really cool that it's plays such a strong role in a format like this. Although it generally, like, Zapdos is a bit better. Although we see C here actually has both. I approve. High BST equals good. Ooh, big Salamence. Ah, yes. Thunderwave. My favorite. The good news about Thunderwave in this tier, as opposed to, like, DPP, is, like, because of, like, the limited selection of items, like, Lumberry is just a much better item, which kind of helps balance out D-Wave by a lot. As we see, presumably, like, HP Rock, I think, from this Metagross. Kind of a cool set, honestly. Hits a few of the mons that, like, Metagross normally struggles to hit. But we're actually, I think we're going to see Amaranth take this game. Looks like a pretty insurmountable lead, in my opinion. Oh yeah, big Heracross. Based, honestly. Cool med set, especially from Amaranth. Alright, what happened in game 2? Let's see. Alright, Arcanine Zapdos, classic lead. Versus the Screen Setter plus Metagross. Classic. Big light screen. That's gonna let the Storm hang on 1 HP there. No Lumberry, because this mon runs Mystic Water and has Natural Cure. Big Overheat. Vulpix. An interesting set. You see sometimes. Ooh, Entei. This is really cool. You don't really see this Pokemon very much, but there's not that many fire types, so this is neat. Of course, held back a little bit by the fact that fire is a little bit of a weaker typing. Especially for something like Entei, because it can't use, like, physical moves, you know? Suicune getting a lot of combines, but Snorlax, #1 special mon, special wall in all of the format. Only 27% though, that's crazy. How does the Suicune ever die? Get a critical hit challenge, impossible. Okay, HP Ice, huge. Another Calm Mind, looking kind of scary here. Solution might just be to chip away at this thing over time. Wisely not going for the T-Bolt into the Marowak switch in. Big waterfall, wow. How does he win this game? Ooh, big Thunder Wave. That might be really huge, actually, for the rest of the game. Protect, Detect, Ice Beam, Dead Zapdos. I guess it's kind of just going to come down to trying to chip the Suicune down with everything that's left late game. Starmie switch in. Big Para. That lets one more light screen up get up. That's kind of unfortunate, actually. Or not. I guess just an Ice Beam. Wise double up there. Wow, that was well played. And then another 2-wave. So I guess this Suicune's just going to go to hell, you know? One last Calm Mind, but it might not be enough. Just like a lot of stuff to chip it down late game. Especially behind the screen. 10%. Oh, big crit. Huge. One more lefties. Return. 26%. I guess it's going to just come down to those Paras. Unfortunate game for Amaranth. Oh, it's rest? Okay. Okay. But now it's asleep. So many chances to crit. Oh, that's a big one. That's going to seal the game up. Wow. Yeah, okay. So yeah, the Mon just kind of got chipped down late game. Wasn't able to carry by itself. Let's see. Let's watch game 3 here, and then I'm probably going to end the video. Alright. Tauros Zapdos, classic. Okay, Registeel. This is one of the cooler Mons in the format. Although maybe a little bit less powerful post-Boom Ban, but I remember like the late stages of the Boom Ban, it was like a pretty cool Mon. Alright, T-Wave, huge. Gonna cripple that Tauros. And just knock it out the next turn. Wow. Okay. Celebi, huge. Celebi, I guess it's the first one we saw all set, but a Mon that's been like making the rounds recently. Really, really strong Mon. A lot of like the new format is kind of like figuring out how to get teams that consistently beat Celebi. It's kind of like Latias 2, you know? Big Dragon Dance. Oh, it's HP Electric. That's fire. HP Electric really cool in this format because it gets around Lightning Rod. Because it's technically a normal type move, which is really cool. So you see it on a few mods. Alright, big T-Bolt. Registeel being the slowest Pokemon of all time. Counter, does nothing. I guess that's hidden power fighting, maybe? No, I definitely wouldn't have done that much. What else could it be? I don't know. Oh, here comes the Suicune. Registeel finally goes down, but not after getting well over its value in Paras. Big Hydro Pump. What is that hidden power type on Snorlax? Is it like CB HP fighting? I don't know. My mind's kind of blanking. I can't remember what else will be resisted by flying, you know? It just seemed like a lot of damage to do to a 4 times resist. I guess it's just CB. Alright, big Roar. Let's look at the Marowak revealed. How does C win this game? People reading the Switch. Okay, classic. HP Ice does nothing. Okay.
Oh, I guess Amantic more fun than I thought.
Oh. What? Oh, it's HP Bug. That's what it is. Yeah, this is another tech that's been popping up to hit Celebi. Very cool. Wow. So Snorlax, I guess, is just going to clean up this game. And not even needed, I guess. So yeah, well played by C there. Yeah, okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.